The great council chamber stretched for hundreds of meters under a dome that showed the stars outside. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their assigned seats, watching the newest addition to their group with barely hidden amusement. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the speaker's platform, her small human frame dwarfed by the massive aliens around her. She wore a simple blue diplomatic uniform, her dark hair tied back professionally. Behind her, Commander Morrison stood silent in his military dress uniform, observing everything with careful eyes. "Honored council members," Sarah began, her voice steady despite the snickers from several delegates. "Humanity thanks you for this opportunity. We come in peace, seeking only knowledge and friendship among the stars." Emperor Zalthor of the Valtorian Empire leaned forward in his throne-like seat. His scaled body was 3 times the size of a human, covered in shimmering purple and gold armor. His 4 eyes studied Sarah with the same interest one might give an insect. "Tell us, Ambassador Chen." Zalthor's voice rumbled through the chamber like thunder. "How long has your species achieved faster than light travel?" 6 months, Your Majesty," Sarah replied honestly. Laughter erupted throughout the chamber. The Valtorians had been traveling between stars for 5,000 years. Even the youngest council species had been in space for centuries. 6 months. A delegate from the crystalline collective chimed in. Their body made of living crystal that reflected light in rainbow patterns. "And you believe you're ready to join galactic civilization?" Ah. We know we have much to learn," Sarah said calmly. "That's why we're here." High Arbiter Krell, the neutral leader who oversaw council proceedings, raised one of his 6 arms for silence. His insect-like features showed neither approval nor disapproval. "What does humanity offer the galaxy?" Sarah activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, showing blue oceans, green forests, and sprawling cities. "We offer our culture, our art, our perspective. We have much to trade. Our scientists are eager to learn. Our people want to be part of something greater." "One planet?" a reptilian delegate hissed. "Yes," Sarah confirmed. More laughter. Most council species had colonies across dozens of systems. The Valtorian Empire alone controlled 300 inhabited worlds. "And your military capabilities?" Zalthor asked, his tone suggesting he already knew the answer would be pathetic. "Surely, you must have some way to defend this." "One planet?" Sarah glanced at Commander Morrison, who gave a slight nod. "We have a system defense force. Chemical rockets, nuclear weapons, kinetic projectiles, nothing compared to your antimatter drives and plasma cannons. Of course, chemical rockets." Zalthor slapped his armored knee, his laughter booming. "They still burn fuel like primitives. Tell me, little human, do you even have proper energy shields?" "No, Your Majesty, we do not." This brought a new wave of amusement. Every species in the council had developed shield technology within their first century of spaceflight. It was considered basic, essential, like inventing the wheel. Zalthor settled back in his throne, satisfied. The Valtorian Empire has maintained peace in this galaxy for 3,000 years. We protect the weak and guide the primitive. Your species is clearly both. He waved a clawed hand dismissively. "We will grant humanity probationary membership. You may access 3 trade routes in the Outer Rim. Perhaps in a few centuries, when you've matured, we can discuss full membership." Sarah bowed her head. "The council is most generous." "One more thing," Krell added. "All probationary members must register their warships with council security. How many vessels does humanity possess capable of interstellar travel?" "Currently, we have 1 warship capable of faster-than-light travel," Sarah answered. 17 more are under construction. 18 total," Zalthor said with a snort. "The Valtorian fleet has 12,000 warships. But I suppose for 1 planet, 18 is adequate." He looked at the other delegates. "Any objections to humanity's probationary status?" Silence filled the chamber. No one considered humans worth objecting to. Then it's settled, Krell declared. Welcome to the Galactic Council, humanity. May your species learn much from those who came before you. The session ended, and delegates began filing out. Several stopped to speak with Sarah, their tones friendly but patronizing, as adults might speak to a child. Don't feel bad about the laughter, a delegate from the Mycelian Collective told her kindly. Their fungal body pulsed with bioluminescent light. We were all young once. You'll catch up. Eventually. Thank you, Sarah said with a polite smile. We'll do our best. Thanks. As the last delegates left, Commander Morrison stepped beside Sarah. That went exactly as expected, he said quietly in English. Yes, Sarah agreed, watching the empty chamber. They think we're harmless. Primitive. Weak. The Defiance arrives in 6 months. I know. Sarah's polite smile faded, replaced by something harder. Something that had been forged through 10,000 years of human warfare. Through world wars and cold wars. Through the careful dance of mutually assured destruction. Let them laugh now. Let them think we're children playing with firecrackers. Morrison allowed himself a thin smile. They have no idea what we've been preparing for. Sarah picked up her datapad and headed for the exit. Behind her, the dome showed the peaceful stars, beautiful and serene. To everyone else in the galaxy, space was a place of commerce and culture, of ancient peace maintained by overwhelming power. But humans remembered their history. They remembered that peace only lasted when you were ready for war. 6 months, Sarah repeated softly. Then they'll see what happens when a death world builds a warship. The stars offered no answer. But Sarah Chen didn't need one. She had seen the Defiance in construction, had walked its armored corridors, had watched the railguns being installed. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson. Never underestimate the species that invented nuclear weapons before they invented spaceflight. The Nexus station hung in space like an artificial moon, large enough to house 3 million beings from across the galaxy. Today, it hosted the annual military parade, where every council species displayed their greatest achievements in warfare and technology. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of a human transport shuttle, watching the procession with careful eyes. She was a compact woman, muscular and alert, with close-cropped black hair and hands that never stopped moving. Always checking, always ready. The crystalline dreadnought is passing now, her communications officer reported. Through the viewport, the vessel looked like a massive diamond floating through space. 3 kilometers long. It caught and reflected starlight in spectacular ways. Its weapons were grown from pure crystal, capable of focusing stellar energy into cutting beams. Beautiful, Rodriguez admitted. Useless in a real fight. But beautiful. Cried. Next came the Mycelian biocruiser, a living ship grown from engineered fungal matter. It rippled and pulsed as it moved, its organic hull constantly regenerating any damage. The crowd at Nexus Station cheered at each display. Then the Eternal Dominance appeared. Emperor Zalthor's new flagship was a monument to Valtorian power. 5 kilometers of sleek metalwork, covered in golden plating that gleamed like a second sun. Energy shields shimmered around it in layers, each one capable of absorbing enough energy to destroy a small moon. Plasma cannons lined its hull, hundreds of them, each powerful enough to crack a planet's crust. Now that, Rodriguez's tactical officer whispered, is meant to make a statement. It does, Rodriguez agreed. It says they're more interested in looking scary than being effective. The parade continued for 2 hours. Every species showed off, demonstrated their power, basked in the applause. Finally, High Arbiter Krell's voice echoed across all communication channels. We now invite our newest probationary members to present their contribution. The humans have requested to display their first interstellar warship. In the Valtorian Command Center, aboard Eternal Dominance, Emperor Zalthor laughed so hard his scales rattled. This should be entertaining. Let's see what the children have built. Around the galaxy, Billions watched on live broadcast. Most expected something small, primitive, perhaps impressive by human standards, but laughable compared to true warships. The space near Nexus Station rippled. Reality bent as a ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The UESN Defiance emerged into normal space. The first thing everyone noticed was its size. At 800 meters, it was modest, smaller than most Council warships. Several delegates smiled knowingly. The second thing they noticed was its appearance. "What is that?" someone whispered over the open channel. The Defiance looked like it had been built in a factory by people who cared nothing for beauty. Its hull was dark gray, scarred and pitted, with none of the smooth elegance of Valtorian design or the artistic grace of crystalline ships. It was brutal, industrial, covered in strange protrusions and rectangular blocks. "Why is it so ugly?" a crystalline delegate asked. Then the tactical officers across the fleet began to read their instruments, and the laughter stopped. "Admiral," Zalthor's chief weapons officer said, her voice suddenly uncertain. "None?" Zalthor leaned forward. "Surely their shields are simply powered down." "Oh, no, sire. The ship has no shield emitters at all. But the hull, Admiral, the mass readings are impossible." "Explain." "The armor plating is registering as 3 meters thick." "The composition." "Admiral, this is neutronium composite bonded with carbon nanolattice, and what appears to be ceramic, ablative layers. Nothing in our arsenal can penetrate it." Zalthor stared at his screen. "That's ridiculous. Even our dreadnoughts only have meter-thick armor under the shields. Why would anyone build something so heavy?" Ambassador Chen's voice came over the broadcast channel, calm and professional. "The UESN Defiance, humanity's first warp-capable warship. We hope the Council finds it interesting." Ambassador Chen, High Arbiter Krell said slowly, "Your vessel appears to lack standard defensive shielding." "That's correct, High Arbiter. We find armor more reliable. But shields can be regenerated once armor is breached." "Our armor doesn't breach," Chen interrupted gently. "We tested it extensively." A new voice joined the channel. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Defiance. If the Council would like a demonstration of our capabilities, we would be honored to participate." Zalthor saw his opportunity. "Yes, a demonstration. Excellent idea." He couldn't let this ugly thing upstage his beautiful eternal dominance. "I propose a friendly test. We have combat drones programmed for training exercises. Your ship against 12 drones. Standard parade protocols." "We accept," Rodriguez said immediately. The Defiance moved to the designated combat zone, its trajectory steady and precise. Rotating sections along its hull spun slowly, and massive radiator panels extended, glowing red. "What are those panels?" someone asked. "Heat dissipation," a human technician explained. "Our reactors run very hot. The energy has to go somewhere." 12 Valtorian combat drones took position around the human ship. They were older models, programmed for training, but still dangerous. Each was the size of a shuttle, armed with plasma weapons and missiles. What no one except Zalthor knew was that he had secretly reprogrammed them. This wasn't a training exercise. This was a live weapons test, designed to humiliate the humans and damage their ship. "Begin," Krell ordered. The drones attacked. Plasma bolts struck the Defiance's hull, superhot energy that could melt through standard ship plating in seconds. The dark armor lit up where the bolts hit, glowing orange. But when the light faded, the hull remained intact, not even scorched. "Impossible," Zalthor breathed. The drones fired missiles, dozens of them, programmed to detonate close to the target. But the Defiance responded with something the galaxy had never seen. Small turrets across its hull rotated with mechanical precision. They fired, not energy, but solid projectiles, at incredible speeds. The railgun rounds moved so fast they were nearly invisible, creating streams of light as they tore through the vacuum, superheating the thin gas between stars. Every missile exploded before getting within a kilometer of the ship. The point defense system was perfect, merciless, never missing. Then the Defiance rotated, a ponderous but deliberate movement. Its main weapons came to bear on the drones. 6 massive railguns, 3 on each side, built directly into the ship's superstructure. All drones, evasive maneuvers, Zalthor commanded desperately. Too late. The Defiance fired once. A tungsten carbide rod, weighing 5 tons, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy was astronomical. The relativistic projectile passed through all 12 drones in less than a second, their shields offering no more resistance than tissue paper. The drones exploded, not from the projectile itself, but from the sheer energy of its passing. The shockwave created a light show that lit up the entire display area. Combat duration: 14 seconds. The broadcast channel was completely silent. 3 million beings on Nexus Station stared in shock. Across the galaxy, billions watched their screens, unable to process what they had just seen. High Arbiter Krell finally found his voice. Ambassador Chen, how many ships like this does humanity possess? Sarah Chen smiled. This is our first warp-capable warship. 17 more are under construction in Earth orbit. She paused, letting that sink in. Our system defense fleet has 300 vessels of similar design. They can't travel faster than light yet, but... Another pause. We've been preparing for first contact for a very long time. Emperor Zalthor sat frozen in his command throne, his tactical displays showing the math his computers were running. One human ship had just destroyed 12 drones in 14 seconds, using weapons that completely bypassed shield technology. The galaxy had spent 3,000 years perfecting shields and energy weapons. Humanity had spent that same time perfecting ways to throw rocks very, very fast. We call them railguns, Chen added helpfully. The principle is quite simple. Really. We just accelerate metal to speeds where mass equals devastation. Rodriguez's voice came over the channel one more time. Defiance to Council. Demonstration complete. We're ready to resume parade formation. As the scarred, ugly human warship took its place in the lineup, not a single delegate laughed anymore. Emperor Zalthor stared at the tactical displays in his private chamber, his 4 eyes burning with fury. Around him, his top military advisors stood in nervous silence, none wanting to be the first to speak. Explain to me, Zalthor said quietly, his voice more dangerous for its calmness, how a species that achieved spaceflight 6 months ago just destroyed 12 combat drones in 14 seconds. General Vex, his chief military strategist, cleared her throat. Your Majesty, our analysis shows that their weapons operate on principles we've ignored for millennia. Kinetic energy weapons are considered primitive because they're slow and easily dodged. But these accelerate projectiles to speeds our shields weren't designed to stop. 14. Shields stop everything, Zalthor snapped. Shields redirect energy, Your Majesty. They create a field that deflects plasma, lasers, particle beams, but solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. Vex pulled up a hologram showing the physics. The projectile has so much kinetic energy that it simply punches through the shield field before the emitters can redirect it. It's not an energy attack. It's mass and velocity. Zalthor watched the simulation replay, watched the tungsten rod pass through the shield like it wasn't there. And their armor? Neutronium composite, Your Majesty. We've never bothered to develop such heavy armor because we rely on shields. They've built their entire military doctrine around something we consider obsolete. Vex hesitated. It's actually quite brilliant. While we perfected one type of warfare, they perfected another, and their type makes ours ineffective. Unacceptable. Zalthor slammed his fist on the table, denting the metal. The Valtorian Empire has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. I will not be made a fool by mammals who still use chemical rockets. Your Majesty, another advisor spoke carefully. Perhaps we should study their technology, incorporate their innovations. No. Zalthor's scales flared in aggression. We do not learn from primitives. We teach them their place. He turned to General Vex. How many humans' warships exist? Ever. According to their ambassador, 18 warp-capable vessels, with 300 more in their home system. But those can't leave their solar system. Then we strike now, before they finish building their fleet. Zalthor's eyes gleamed. We will perform a preemptive peacekeeping action, destroy their shipyards, disable their warp-capable vessels, and force them to submit to proper Valtorian guidance. Your Majesty, Vex said cautiously, the Council may not approve. I don't need Council approval to protect the galaxy from a potentially dangerous species. We've done it before. Zalthor pulled up star charts showing the Sol system. 50 warships, including the Eternal Dominance. We jump in, overwhelm them with numbers, and establish control before anyone realizes what happened. And if they resist, then we demonstrate why the Valtorian Empire has remained dominant for 3 millennia. Prepare the fleet. We leave in 2 days. Vex bowed, her doubts hidden. As you command, Your Majesty. 2 days later, 50 Valtorian warships gathered at a secret staging point outside Council space. The Eternal Dominance led them, its golden hull shining even in the darkness between stars. All ships report ready, Vex announced from her station on the bridge. Zalthor sat in his command throne, confident in his decision. Engage faster than light drives. Destination: Sol system. Human homeworld. Time to teach these primitives a lesson. Space bent around the fleet. Reality twisted. The warships vanished, traveling faster than light toward Earth. They emerged at the edge of the Sol system, sensors immediately scanning for targets. What they found made every tactical officer freeze. The UESN Defiance waited directly in their path, positioned perfectly. But she wasn't alone. 20 more human warships floated in formation, their dark hulls and bristling weapons aimed directly at the Valtorian fleet. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over all frequencies, calm and almost amused. Valtorian fleet. This is Captain Rodriguez of the United Earth Space Navy. You were followed the moment you left your staging area. The Galactic Council has been informed of your unauthorized military action. Stand down immediately. Impossible. Zalthor roared. How did they know? General Vex checked her instruments, her scales paling. Sire. They have stealth vessels. Small, nearly undetectable. One must have been watching our staging point. Humans don't have stealth technology. Apparently they do. Vex's voice was grim. And 21 warships. Not 18. They lied about their numbers. On the Defiance's bridge, Rodriguez smiled. Admiral Chen was right. They took the bait perfectly. All ships are in position, Captain, her tactical officer reported. Quantum entangled communications are active. The Council is watching everything. Rodriguez opened a channel to the Valtorian fleet. Emperor Zalthor, you have 3 minutes to withdraw. This is your only warning. Zalthor's face appeared on her screen, purple scales dark with rage. You dare threaten the Valtorian Empire? I have 50 warships. You have barely 20. 21, Rodriguez corrected. And we don't need more. Last chance, Emperor. Leave now. Never. All ships, attack formation. Show these mammals what true power looks like. The Valtorian fleet surged forward, shields glowing, weapons charging. It was an impressive sight. 50 warships moving as one. The pride of an empire that had never known defeat. Rodriguez sighed. Weapons free. All ships. Engage. The human fleet didn't meet them head-on. Instead, they scattered in patterns that seemed random but weren't. Each ship accelerated at speeds that made the Valtorians' instruments scream warnings. The humans were pulling maneuvers that should have killed their crews from the G-forces. How are they not dead? Zalthor demanded. They're ships. They're designed for it, Vex realized. Look at the rotating sections. They use centrifugal force for artificial gravity, which means they can redirect the G-forces during combat, and they're willing to push their bodies far harder than we ever would. The first exchange of fire was devastating, but not for the humans. Valtorian plasma cannons fired brilliant streams of superheated particles. But the human ships weren't where they were supposed to be. They dodged with precision, their quantum-entangled targeting computers sharing information instantaneously across the fleet. Human railguns responded. Tungsten rods crossed the distance at relativistic speeds. Valtorian shields flickered and died under the kinetic impacts. Then, the human missile swarms launched. What kind of missiles are those? Someone screamed over the Valtorian command channel. Nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers, an analyst shouted back. They're using nuclear explosions to power directed energy weapons. The missiles detonated in coordinated patterns, each explosion channeling radiation into focused beams that sliced through Valtorian hulls. Ships that had dominated the galaxy for centuries were cut apart like paper. Return fire! Destroy them! Zalthor commanded. But his fleet was in chaos. Human tactics were unlike anything the Valtorians had trained for. They fought like cornered predators, aggressive and unpredictable. When a human ship's weapons were disabled, it didn't retreat. It accelerated harder, its crew compartments jettisoning as the rest of the vessel became a guided missile, ramming Valtorian cruisers at impossible speeds. They're insane. A Valtorian captain transmitted before his ship was crushed by a human vessel that had turned itself into a kinetic weapon. The Defiance targeted the Eternal Dominance directly. Rodriguez didn't even bother with the clever tactics. She just fired the main railguns in a sustained bombardment, round after round of tungsten carbide death. The flagship's shields held for the first few impacts. Then they flickered. Then they failed. The beautiful golden hull, designed to inspire awe and fear, crumpled under the kinetic assault. Not pierced, not melted, but crumpled, bent inward by the sheer force of the impacts. Shields down, hull breaches on all decks, engineering is venting atmosphere. Reports flooded Zalthor's bridge. Sire, we must retreat. General Vex grabbed his arm. We've lost 12 ships destroyed, 31 disabled. We cannot win this. Zalthor stared at his screens, watching his proud fleet being dismantled by a species that shouldn't even be a threat. His perfect warships, his thousands of years of dominance, meant nothing against enemies who fought like the universe itself was trying to kill them. Because it had. Earth had tried to kill humanity for millions of years. They had learned to fight back. All ships, Zalthor whispered, defeated. Retreat. Full withdrawal. The surviving Valtorian vessels fled, their faster-than-light drives engaging in desperate jumps. Rodriguez watched them go, her ship barely damaged. All human vessels. Report status. 4 ships with moderate damage, Captain. No losses. She nodded, satisfied. Good. Maintain position. And someone get Admiral Chen on the line. Tell her the galaxy is about to learn an important lesson. Behind her, Earth hung in space, blue and green and beautiful. A death world that had forged a death species. And that species had just won its first interstellar war. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began in chaos. Delegates shouted over each other, accusations flew, and High Arbiter Krell struggled to maintain order. Billions across the galaxy watched the live broadcast, desperate to understand how everything had changed so quickly. The Valtorian Empire attacked a council member without authorization. The crystalline delegate's voice rang out, their body flashing red with anger. This is unprecedented. Log. A probationary member, a Valtorian supporter countered. And Emperor Zalthor was acting to protect the galaxy from a dangerous species. Dangerous? The mycelian representative pulsed with bioluminescent fury. The only danger came from Zalthor's unprovoked assault. Enough! Krell's voice, amplified by the chamber's systems, finally brought silence. His insect-like features showed rare emotion, anger, and disappointment mixed together. We will hear from both parties. Emperor Zalthor, you will explain your actions. The holographic projection of Zalthor appeared, smaller than usual, his scales dull with humiliation. He was under arrest aboard his own flagship, which was being towed back to Valtorian space by Council peacekeepers. I acted to protect the galaxy, Zalthor said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. The humans possess weapons that bypass our defenses. They lied about their ship numbers. They represent a clear and present danger to galactic peace. You attacked them based on fear, Krell said flatly. Without evidence of hostile intent. Without council approval. Without even attempting diplomatic solutions. They build warships with no purpose but destruction. No shields, only armor. No elegant design, only brutal efficiency. These are not the ships of a peaceful species. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood from her seat. May I respond, High Arbiter? Please, Ambassador. The Council is eager to hear the human perspective. Sarah walked to the center platform, her movements controlled and precise. Behind her, Commander Morrison and Captain Rodriguez stood as silent witnesses. Emperor Zalthor is partially correct, Sarah began, and shocked murmurs rippled through the chamber. We did build warships designed purely for combat. We did make them as efficient and deadly as possible. But he's wrong about why. Why? Why? She activated a holographic display showing Earth, the blue planet rotating slowly. This is our home. The Council calls it a Class 3 habitable world, but that classification doesn't tell the whole story. The image zoomed in, showing vast oceans, dense jungles, frozen poles. Our planet has tried to kill us since we first evolved. Predators hunted us, diseases ravaged us, ice ages froze us, volcanoes buried us, earthquakes shattered our cities, hurricanes destroyed our homes. Our world is beautiful. But it's also deadly. Images flashed across the display, showing Earth's history. Ancient humans fighting massive predators. Civilizations destroyed by natural disasters. Plagues that killed millions. We survived because we learned to adapt. To fight back. To never give up. No matter what. Tried to kill us. Sarah's voice was steady, but emotional. Then we developed intelligence, and we became our own worst enemy. New images appeared. Wars throughout human history. Swords, cannons, tanks, aircraft, the mushroom clouds of nuclear weapons. For 10,000 years, we perfected warfare. We fought each other with stones, then bronze, then iron, then steel. We invented gunpowder, engines, computers. We split the atom and turned it into weapons before we turned it into power. We created bombs that could destroy our entire species. The Council watched in silent horror as the images showed devastation humans had inflicted on themselves. We nearly destroyed ourselves. Sarah continued. We came so close to extinction that every human alive today carries the memory of how close we came to the edge. But we stepped back. We chose peace over destruction. We united our species under one government. We turned our weapons into tools for defense, not conquest. She paused, looking around the chamber at the alien faces watching her. Then we looked at the stars and asked ourselves a question. What if we're not alone? What if there are others out there? And what if they're hostile? The display showed human scientists working, engineers building, military strategists planning. We had achieved peace, but we remembered war. We had ended our conflicts, but we didn't forget how to fight. So when we developed faster-than-light travel, we made a decision. We would go to the stars in peace, hoping for friendship. But we would be ready for war. Ever one. Images of the Defiance appeared, showing its construction in Earth orbit. The welding of armor plates, the installation of railguns, the careful, methodical preparation. Every human warship is built on a simple principle. We hope we'll never need them, but if we do, they will be enough. We don't build them for conquest. We build them for survival. Sarah turned to face Zalthor's hologram directly. Emperor Zalthor attacked us because he feared what we represented, not because we were dangerous to the galaxy, but because we were dangerous to his empire's dominance. The Valtorian Empire has ruled for 3,000 years, and they've never been challenged. They confused their power with their right to power. How dare you? Zalthor started, but Krell silenced him with a gesture. Continue, ambassador. The Emperor brought 50 warships to our home. He intended to destroy our shipyards, disable our fleet, and force us into submission. He never declared war. He never gave us a chance to surrender. He simply attacked, believing his numbers and his reputation would guarantee victory. Sarah's expression hardened. He was wrong. We destroyed 12 of his ships. We disabled 31 more, including his flagship. We did this with moderate damage to only 4 of our vessels and 0 casualties. Do you know why? She didn't wait for an answer. Because we've been fighting for survival since we first stood upright on the plains of Africa. Because we turned fighting into a science and survival into an art. Because when you come from a death world, you learn that the universe doesn't care about fairness or honor or pride. You survive, or you die. The chamber was absolutely silent. The Emperor says we're dangerous. He's right. We are. Every species that survives a death world is dangerous. But we're only dangerous to those who attack us. We came to this council seeking peace. We offered friendship and trade. We asked for knowledge and cooperation. Sarah gestured to the star maps showing the routes humans had been assigned. You gave us 3 trade routes in the Outer Rim and called it generosity. You laughed at our chemical rockets and mocked our single planet. You treated us like children playing at being adults. She paused, letting her words sink in. We didn't mind the mockery. We understood we had much to learn. But when Zalthor attacked our home, when he brought his warships to Earth intending to destroy what we'd built and enslave our species, he forgot the most important rule of the universe. Sarah's voice dropped, becoming cold and hard. Never threaten a mother protecting her children. Never attack a species fighting for survival. And never, ever underestimate humans defending their home. The silence stretched for long seconds. Finally, High Arbiter Krell spoke. The Council has reviewed the evidence. Emperor Zalthor, you are found guilty of unprovoked aggression against a council member. You are stripped of your title and will face trial for war crimes. Zalthor's hologram flickered as he tried to protest, but the connection was cut. The Valtorian Empire will be required to disarm 60% of their military fleet and pay reparations to humanity. Their council seat is suspended for 10 years. Krell turned to Sarah. Ambassador Chen, humanity's probationary status is hereby revoked. You are granted full council membership with all rights and privileges. Additionally, the council would like to offer humanity a seat on the Security Directorate. Gasps filled the chamber. The Security Directorate controlled galactic peacekeeping operations and military response to threats. It was one of the most powerful positions in the council. Sarah bowed her head. Humanity accepts. With gratitude. Furthermore, Krell continued, several council members have requested military cooperation treaties with Earth, defensive alliances, technology exchanges, and joint training programs. You may consider these requests at your leisure. As the session adjourned, delegates swarmed Sarah, some congratulating her, others looking nervous, all of them treating humanity with new respect. Captain Rodriguez watched from the sidelines, a slight smile on her face. Commander Morrison leaned close. Do you think they finally understand? Rodriguez nodded. They understand. We're not children anymore. If we ever were. On screens across the galaxy, the broadcast ended with images of the human fleet. Scarred, but unbroken, hovering protectively over Earth. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had arrived, and the age of Valtorian dominance was over. A new era had begun. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Sol. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the UESN Defiance, looking out at a view that still seemed unreal. Earth hung below, blue and green and beautiful, but now it was surrounded by a fleet that would have seemed impossible a year ago. 45 human warships patrolled the Sol system in carefully coordinated patterns. Some were updated versions of the Defiance. Others were new designs incorporating lessons learned from the battle. All of them carried the scars and pride of a species that had proven itself. Captain Rodriguez. Commander Morrison's voice came from behind her. The council delegation has arrived. Already? They've been early for every meeting since the battle. Morrison allowed himself a rare smile. Funny how that works. They made their way to the conference room where Ambassador Sarah Chen was already waiting. With her were 3 alien delegates, each representing one of the most powerful species in the council. The crystalline delegate, whose name humans pronounced as Shara, was the first to speak. Their body reflected light in nervous patterns. Ambassador Chen, Captain Rodriguez, thank you for meeting with us. Of course, Sarah said warmly. Please. Sit. The delegates sat, though Shara seemed uncomfortable. Finally, the crystalline delegate spoke again. We come with a request from the Council. A mission. If humanity would be willing to accept it. We're listening, Sarah said. The Outer Rim has been experiencing increased pirate activity, Shara explained. Normally, the Valtorian fleet would handle this, but with their disarmament. The delegate trailed off awkwardly. You need someone to patrol the trade routes, Rodriguez finished. Yes, but more than that. A new delegate leaned forward, a reptilian species called the Scorix. We need someone who can actually stop the pirates. They've become bolder since the Valtorians lost their reputation. They know most council species design our ships for show as much as function. But not humans, the third delegate added. This was a mycelium, their fungal body pulsing slowly. Your ships are built purely for effectiveness. The pirates have heard about the Battle of Sol. Your reputation could restore order without firing a single shot. Sarah glanced at Rodriguez, who gave a small nod. We'd need to send at least 3 ships, the captain said. And we'd require access to council supply stations along the routes. Granted, Shara said immediately. You'll have full support. We're also prepared to offer something else. The crystalline delegate activated a holographic display showing technical schematics. Our shield technology. We'd like to share it with humanity, in exchange for your insights on kinetic weapons and armor design. Rodriguez felt her heart beat faster. Human scientists had been trying to reverse engineer shield technology from captured Valtorian systems, but progress was slow. Having the Council's full technical specifications would save years of research. We accept, Sarah said. Earth will send a scientific delegation to begin the technology exchange immediately. There's one more thing, the Scorix delegate said hesitantly. Several council species are requesting permission to send observers to your military academies. We want to learn your tactical doctrines, your training methods. The way you approach warfare is fundamentally different from ours, and we've realized how dangerously unprepared we've become. You want to learn how to fight like humans, Rodriguez said bluntly. Yes, the delegate admitted. For 3,000 years, we've had peace enforced by Valtorian dominance. We forgot that peace requires the ability to defend it. You never forgot that lesson. Sarah considered this carefully. We'll allow observers, but with conditions. They must understand that our methods evolved from necessity, not preference. We'll teach defense, not aggression. The goal is deterrence, not conquest. Understood, all 3 delegates said together. After the meeting ended and the delegates had left, Rodriguez remained with Sarah and Morrison in the conference room. It's really happening, isn't it? Morrison said quietly. They're completely reorganizing their military strategies around what we showed them. Not just military, Sarah corrected. The Council's entire power structure is shifting. The Valtorian Empire kept everyone dependent on them for protection. Now that dependency is broken, and every species is realizing they need to be able to defend themselves. Do you think that's good? Rodriguez asked. Sarah walked to the window, looking out at Earth and the fleet beyond. I think it's necessary. The galaxy got comfortable. They had peace for so long they forgot what it cost to maintain. We reminded them. By beating the strongest empire in galactic history, Morrison pointed out. No, Sarah said firmly. By being willing to do what was necessary to survive. The Valtorians were strong, but they were brittle. All their power was concentrated at the top. They never had to struggle, never had to adapt. We came from a world that never stopped trying to kill us, so we never stopped learning how to survive. Rodriguez joined her at the window. What happens now? We're part of the Council. We have a seat on the Security Directorate. Half the galaxy wants to be our ally. Where does humanity go from here? Forward, Sarah said simply. We continue building our fleet, not to conquer, but to protect. We share our knowledge with the Council, but we never forget where we came from. We help maintain the peace, but we stay ready for war. And if another empire rises to challenge us, Morrison asked, then they'll learn the same lessons Althor did. Sarah's expression was calm but firm. You don't threaten a species that weaponized perseverance itself. Later that evening, Rodriguez returned to the observation deck. Alone this time, she watched the construction crews working on the newest addition to humanity's fleet. The vessel was twice the size of the Defiance, incorporating shield technology provided by the Council, while maintaining the heavy armor and kinetic weapons that made human warships so effective. Its name was already stenciled on the hull in letters 3 meters tall. UESN. Perseverance. Captain Rodriguez. A young ensign approached hesitantly. Sorry to interrupt, but we received a message from the Council. They're dedicating next month's parade to humanity. They want the Defiance to lead the procession. Rodriguez smiled, remembering the last parade, when the Defiance had been an ugly surprise, mocked and dismissed by species who didn't understand what they were seeing. Tell them we accept, she said, but we'll bring the whole fleet this time. Let them see what Earth can build when we put our minds to it. The ensign saluted and left. Rodriguez turned back to the window, watching her homeworld turn below. Earth had survived ice ages and mass extinctions. Humanity had survived plagues and world wars. They had split the atom, touched the moon, and reached for the stars. They had met the galaxy and found it wanting, not in culture or technology or wisdom, but in the simple, brutal understanding that peace was something you built and defended, not something you assumed would last forever. The Valtorian Empire had ruled for 3,000 years because no one challenged them. But empires that never face opposition become weak in ways they don't realize until it's too late. Humanity had faced opposition every single day of its existence. Every predator, every disease, every natural disaster, every war had been a test, and humanity had passed them all, not because they were stronger or smarter than everyone else, but because they refused to quit. That was the real lesson of the Battle of Sol. Not that humans had better weapons or tactics, though they did. Not that human ships were more advanced, though in some ways they were. The real lesson was simpler and more terrifying. Never fight a species that treats survival as a competition and extinction as motivation. Rodriguez activated her communicator. Captain Rodriguez, to all human vessels in the Sol system. Tomorrow we begin escort patrols in the Outer Rim. We're going to show the galaxy what peace looks like when it's defended by people who know the cost of losing it. Make ready. Acknowledgements came back from 45 ships, their crews prepared and eager. In the vastness of space, Earth continued its eternal rotation. A blue marble that had forged a species of survivors. Those survivors had reached the stars and found them filled with wonders. Beautiful aliens, incredible technology, ancient civilizations, and unlimited potential. But they had also found something else. A galaxy that had forgotten how to fight for what mattered. Humanity would help them remember. Not through conquest or domination, but by example. The Defiance began moving, leading the human fleet toward the outer rim. Behind them, the UESN Perseverance continued its construction, a promise of more to come. The age of Valtorian dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun, not with a conquest, but with a single message that had echoed across the galaxy since the Battle of Sol. A message that every species now understood. We are humanity. We come in peace. We offer friendship. We seek knowledge. But if you threaten our home, if you attack our people, if you mistake our kindness for weakness, you will learn what a death world creates when it builds a civilization. You will learn why we survived when our own planet tried to kill us. You will learn what happens when you back a human into a corner. You will learn, and you will remember. And you will never, ever make the mistake of underestimating us again. The stars awaited, full of promise and danger. Humanity was ready for both. They always had been. They always would be.